get started. We're starting a few minutes late. We had some folks coming in. I think we have some more folks that are coming in. We certainly appreciate you being here tonight. This is Internet Safety Week for Cleveland City Schools, and all of our schools, K through 12, are hearing various lessons throughout the week from teachers and staff about internet safety that are age appropriate for K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. And tonight we have some special guests with us and doing some various other table assignments later where you can learn more about what we're doing in Cleveland City Schools to help keep your students, our students, your kids, safe while they're on the internet, whether they're here at school or at home. And we also, like I said, we have two agents from TBI who are here tonight to do a special presentation as well. We are broadcasting this tonight, so if anyone is not here that you know might want to watch this later, they can go back and do that, and Dr. Raper can kind of give you some information about where that can be found. So we're glad you're here. This is going to be a special night for you, I hope. Be sure to ask questions that you might have. We definitely want to make sure that you get those answered before you leave. I do want to recognize Dawn Robinson, who's here. She's the chair of our school board, so I'll always have the good support of our school board members. We also have various CCS personnel. So if you're a CCS staffer, if you're a member of one of our schools or school staff, you would just stand and maybe raise your hand real fast so everybody knows you're here. And we certainly appreciate, yes, absolutely. We appreciate you being here after work hours today too. So with that, I'm going to hand the microphone off to Dr. Cody Raper. He is the Director of Innovation for Cleveland City Schools and helped put this together. He's going to introduce members of his staff that also helped put this together tonight. And again, we're just glad to have you with us to learn together about how we can keep our students safe.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited that this night is here. I'm so excited to see your faces. We care a lot about your kids, and we want to keep them safe in every way that we can. So we do a lot of things at school, and one of those things we want to do tonight is tell you about some of those things. But we also want to make you aware of general stuff that's out there, maybe on your student's cell phone. And we have some great speakers from the TBI. They're going to be doing that. Really briefly, I would like to introduce you to these faces. These are our Blade Facilitators. The Blade Facilitators, Blade is our blended learning and digital enhancement. It's our one-to-one project. And these ladies and gentlemen are the front lines of making sure that this happens well. And so you're going to hear from each one of them tonight. They're going to be here for questions and some other things that we'll discuss later afterward. But really quickly, I want to make sure you're aware of their faces. Andrea Phillips is back here. She is our elementary Blade Facilitator. So if you have an elementary kid or an elementary concern, here's the contact information for her. A. Phillips, oh, that's wrong. It is A.L. Phillips. I need to fix that. A.L. Phillips at clevelandschools.org. And then you can get her at 961-5410, option 2. Emily Raper is right here. She is our middle school Blade Facilitator, so grades 6 through 8, helping out with technology here at the middle school in this building. And her contact information is there as well. And then Dr. Eric Garner is with our high school. So once again, they'll be here after. You're going to hear from them today, but I did want you to know and kind of see their faces. We also have Savannah Shell, who's our Power School guru, who'll be talking a little bit later as well. But for our keynote and the stars of tonight, we have Special Agent Cesar Salazar. He's the Special Agent in charge of the Technical Services Unit for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. And we have Robert Burkhart, who's a Special Agent, I think in the same department, but I'll let them do a intro themselves. So let's give a round of applause. We're so happy they made the trip here tonight.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? So like he said, my name is Cesar Salazar. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the Technical Services Unit, TBI. We're part of a division called Technology and Innovation. At TBI, we do a lot of progressive things when it comes to technology investigations, right? So they combine three different units at TBI, the regular information systems unit, which is the IT department, then our intelligence unit, and then technical services, which I'm in charge of. right? So the bulk of the presentation will be A.M. Burkhart. He's one of our main investigators for cybercrime and internet crimes against children, which is the topic of the day, okay? But in the technical services unit, we do a lot more than that, right? Even though we're going to concentrate tonight on the internet crimes against children part of it, but we also investigate cybercrime. We do a lot of those presentations as well. We work really closely with our federal partners, specifically with the FBI. So we work a lot of on the cyber attacks, like intrusions, ransomware, right? Fake fraud scam, a lot of all of those cases we work at TBI in conjunction because a lot of these subjects are overseas, right? So I just wanted to give you just a brief introduction, not steal the thunder from Special Agent Burkhart about ICAC, right? But I also wanted to explain a little bit more about what we do, right? So part of our main task is also work on Amber Alerts, or pretty much every Amber Alert that you see, that you receive, that you notice throughout the state, pretty much is our unit working part of it. We're not the only group working those, right? But for the most part, we're involved, right? And work with other departments and other units within TBI. We're also, we're in charge of our digital forensics unit. Digital forensics, for those who do not know it, we collect a lot of evidence in all the cases that we prosecute, that we investigate, and then we have a group of very well-trained agents that go to all of the devices. And I'm talking about from cell phones, tablets, computers, vehicles, watches, all of that, we actually analyze and determine what is of evidentiary value for the cases that we prosecute. Okay, that's another part of the technical services. We're also in charge of the command post and a lot of technical vehicles that we utilize. We work really closely with our undercover agents as well. We do a lot of undercover operations also online that he's going to talk about. Okay, that's a really quick summary of the technical services unit, right? And just with that, I don't want to take a lot of time, but he's going to talk primarily about ICAC and what we do and give you a lot of advice for the presentation, not only for the kids, for the parents primarily, right? Because there's a lot of danger there, even though the internet is a great thing, right? It has changed all of our lives for good, but still, there's a lot of danger there for kids, right? And we need to be aware of the actions that they have, how the perpetrators groom our kids, okay? And he's going to explain a lot of that and a lot of the steps that we as parents can actually take to make a lot safer, okay? So with that, here's Special Agent Burkhart.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rob Burkhart. I've been with the TBI investigating internet crimes against kids for about 5 years now. It's my passion. I come here tonight as law enforcement and also as a parent. I have a 9-year-old boy and a 4-year-old boy. So I'm, the whole online gaming and everything, I'm dealing with that too. So we're not here to scare you tonight. We're here to just, I'm an open book. I like to tell you how it is, everything that we're seeing. And it's happening in our state. And I think it's important that everybody kind of sees what we do and what we see every day. Next topic. Just a brief talking points, what we're going to kind of go over. Next slide. So like Agent Salazar was saying, the TSU is divided into digital forensics and then the investigations. We're all based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and there's 4 of us that investigate internet crimes against children throughout the whole state. So if there's a case out in Bristol or Memphis, we have to drop what we're doing and drive there and investigate it and do all that. For the investigations, we investigate all the threats to life, and then internet crimes against children, cybercrime. Myself and Agent Salazar are on the FBI Cyber Task Force out of Nashville, so we have that resource that we can use and plug in. And then obviously we work a lot of the Amber Alerts. on the social media side, on the cell phone side, and everything. Next slide. So this is like probably the most liked agent in our unit. We got him about a year ago. His name is Zeus. He's a 1-year-old yellow lab, and his job is to sniff out electronic devices. His handler is Agent Miller, and they're based out of Jackson, Tennessee. But he travels all over the state and does all of our search warrants for us. So we'll go in as humans, do the best we can, and then Zeus comes in behind us and sniffs out if anything's hitting a wall, a picture up in the ceiling. Little celebrity status on his trainer. One of the trainers that trained him trained another dog who up in Indiana found the thumb drive for Jared Fogle, the subway guy. That's how he was found guilty, was based off of that thing that electronic surveillance dog found. So huge asset to our unit, and we just love having him in the office. Next slide. As we said, just some of the big Amber Alerts that we're currently working and have worked in the past. Next slide. And then ICAC, so Internet Crimes Against Children. It's funded by the Department of Justice. It's throughout the whole U.S. So there's ICAC units in almost every state in the U.S. For Tennessee, our commander, the head ICAC unit, is based out of Knoxville Police Department. And within Tennessee, there's probably about 30, 40 ICAC units, and TBI is just one of them. And whenever there's a cyber tip that comes in where, say, a county or a city doesn't have an ICAC unit, it gets sent to TBI, and then we go out and investigate it. Two things that we do reactive and proactive investigations. Reactive are the cyber tips that we get from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and then tips from the community. And then proactive, I do a lot of the undercover chats, posing as like a young boy, young girl, trying to lure people in. Peer-to-peer, where people share images of children, and then a lot of online ads. I'll either answer the online ad or create an online ad and try to lure an adult that way. Next slide.
Just to add a little bit about the cyber tips, right? So all the social media platforms from Facebook, Google, all of those have the legal obligation to detect what we call contraband, right? So images of kids.
Hold the mic up.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
There.
Okay. Sorry about that. So they have the legal obligation to determine if an image is legal. Okay. And I'm trying to use very good language because I know there's a lot more kids in here. So, and they have to report it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They in turn analyze and they send it to the different jurisdictions throughout the United States. Okay. That's part of the process, is one of the data sources that we get for leads to investigate these crimes. This is not the only way that we receive tips, right? But that's one of them. Once we receive the cyber tip, then we analyze it and initiate an investigation. Okay?
So just a visualization of all the ICAC units in Tennessee. Obviously, the whole state isn't covered, so wherever you don't see a dot, TBI has to respond. So remember, there's only 4 of us. Next slide. So NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, an amazing organization. They're based out of Virginia. They're pretty much the clearinghouse for all the child images out in the world that are shared. And they're also responsible for pushing out all the cyber tips. Like Caesar was saying, social media companies like Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, they're required by law to report. So they have algorithms that look for images of children or chats between an adult or a child that pick up and they flag it. And then they put all that information in, report it to NCMEC, and it comes in as a cyber tip. Next slide. Just kind of a visualization of the social media reporting. This was back in 2019, and I'd probably say it's pretty much the same. Facebook is one of the main reporting companies out there, especially now with Instagram. A lot of kids are moving away from Facebook. That's for us old people now. Moving to Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all of that. Google's a big one. Microsoft. And then, as you know, there's thousands of social media companies out there. We'll get cyber tips every day, and I learn of a new company. But they are reporting, which is a good thing. Next slide. Another visualization. So 1998, 3,000 reports of suspected online abuse of children. In 2019, 16.9 million reports were reported. So you can see in about 20 years how, and you know, this could be the explosion of technology, obviously, but it's definitely getting worse. Next slide.
Can I add something?
Good.
So, we have all been suffering because of the pandemic in the last 2 years, right? In the last 2 years during the pandemic, we saw a huge increase in the number of cyber attacks that we received. You might be thinking, why is that? But for us, it was not a surprise. We saw it when everything was going to be locked down, that we were going to see a huge increase. And the reason being is that the kids were going to be spending more time online, alone at home, or maybe with a parent, right? But kind of always looking at their devices. But also the perpetrators. The perpetrators are going to be spending a lot more time at home and doing what they do, right? So we saw that, we actually saw it coming, and sure enough, right? So, but that tells us we as parents need to pay a lot more attention. He's going to go into more detail about that, right? But the more time kids spend in front of those devices, the more they're at risk.
Good. So this is just an example of the cyber tip that we get. There's different priority levels. So you're looking at a priority 1, which means child is actually being either abused or was just abused, which means we drop everything, even if it's 3 in the morning, and we drive wherever, and pretty much bust that person's door down and get them. Usually within, 3-4 hours, we're usually at the door interviewing the person, the priority 1. And then it goes down from there, 2, 3, and E. And E is just whenever a social media company reports it, it automatically gets sent as an E. And then a NCMEC analyst can either change that to a 3, 2, or 1, depending on what they see. And these are good because they contain, the social media companies will send everything that they pretty much know in this report, which helps us as law enforcement to identify where that victim or the subject is. Next slide. Yeah, I don't know why that thing's stuck, but so 20.3 million reports were reported in 2020 alone by just Facebook to NCMEC. So, and that's just one company out of 1,000. So. It's good because these social media companies are monitoring and looking for this stuff and reporting it. Imagine if they weren't reporting. Behind every cyber tip that we get is a victim. That's how I look at it. So, next slide. Just like what Caesar was saying, before COVID, when I first started in 2017, we were getting about maybe 30 cyber tips a month, which is about 1 a day. After COVID, it jumped up to about 70. And I know in the past 3 months, we're already up to 90. And that's just TBI. That's just TBI. That's not including the 30, 40 other ICAC units within the state. So if you do the math, 90 cyber tips in a month, which is 90 cases, 90 victims, 90 subjects, 90 search warrants that have to be done with 4 agents, it's tough. And that's just 1 month. And then the next month, we get 90 more. So it's hard. Every cyber tip we get, we do triage it. especially if it's a 1, 2, or 3. Those are the higher priorities. So we'll triage and figure out if it's something that we have to do like within that week or with that day. Next. Just a couple online threats that your kids have to deal with. This isn't all of them, but I'm just gonna hit on a couple of them. But obviously cyberbullying. I think cyberbullying is handled a lot more within the school, within like the SRO and everything. We don't really get much about the cyberbullying, but it is a threat that your kids are dealing with. You know, when I was in high school, you remember the 70-pound backpack they used to have on your thing when you were in like 7th, 8th grade? There's this kid that always just threw me in the locker. And I was scared. I didn't want to go to school. I was crying. But luckily, my brother was on the varsity football team. And all of a sudden, one day, I walked past this kid, and he didn't even do anything. So I think the football team took care of him. But now it's all cyberbullying. So it happens 24/7. Bullying can happen, while you're sleeping. Your kid could be, bullied on their cell phone. It's never ending. Next slide. So exploitation. We're trying to change this to CSAM, which is the child sexual abuse material. The word it's better than. I don't want to say it really. Younger kids around, but pretty much anybody. If you're a child and you're below the 18 and you take a photo of yourself, especially a nude photo of yourself, technically that's producing child pornography. We don't go after kids because kids are the victims. It's that perpetrator that's on the other side making these people or these kids take the photographs. But just make sure you educate your kids. Don't never take a photograph. The way I say it is never take a photograph that you would never send to your mom or your grandmother. Okay?
That measure is primarily for the kids, right? But also for the adults. Right? Now, when he's talking about the difference between CSAM, child sex abuse material, or child pornography, you might think it is just the name. But it actually makes a huge difference because the term child pornography kind of trivializes it, right? I mean, most of us are adults, but adult pornography is legal. And we don't care. It's not a moral issue or not. For us, it's a legal issue. Okay? But the term, we don't want to trivialize. When we say child pornography, we prefer to use the term CSAM, which is the abbreviation for sexual abuse material. Child sexual abuse material. Okay? So that's why those kind of terms evolve during time, right? But the use in child pornography kind of trivialized. It's like we understand we use it all the time as well, right? So we can make our point. But in our world, we're trying to change it.
Next one. These are just a couple stats for the exploitation of a minor. NCMEC received over 82 million reports. They've reviewed over 322 million pictures and images of children engaged in sexual acts, and over 19,000 victims have successfully been identified by law enforcement. Next slide. Online enticement grooming, this is probably the number one. This is where it all begins. When I do my undercover chats, I see it firsthand. When I'm a 11, 12-year-old girl or boy, these guys or girls, they groom. So sometimes I like to be maybe like a 12-year-old girl that plays soccer, right? I don't have a dad. I just live with my mom. So these guys or girls fill that role. They prey on that. They might be, hey, I'm 15 and I play soccer too. They try to do similar stuff to what the kid might be interested in. to get that grooming going. Then they get their relationship going, and then that trust, and then they might maybe give them a Roblox gift card, or an Xbox, something like an Xbox controller or something. And they build that trust, they groom them, they groom them. It could be a week, it could be over months, it could be years. And then they finally ask for that photo, or they ask to meet in public. And that kid thinks, hey, I'm just talking to another 15-year-old kid, I'm gonna go meet him. And that's what happens. So, talk to your kids about grooming, the kids in the room. Never talk to anybody that you do not know, or that you ever met in person, okay? If they sound too good to be true on the internet, they probably are. They're probably nothing what you're thinking. So if you think it's just another 15-year-old, 16-year-old on the other end of Roblox or Fortnite or something, it's probably some 56-year-old male living in his mom's basement, talking to you, just being truthful. Next slide. So this is probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing right now in cyber tips is sextortion. So what sextortion is just like the grooming. Say they're talking to a 12-year-old female. Female sends that nude photograph of them. Now he or she has that photograph, and now I'm saying, hey, send me more photos. Now that child is saying, no, that was a mistake, I'm sorry, I felt bad, I'm not gonna send you any. Well, this person will say, okay, well, I have this nude photograph of you, so if you don't send it, then I'm gonna send it to all your friends and your parents and tell them and show them what you're doing online. And of course, the kid's gonna be scared. The kid's not gonna run to the mom and dad because they don't wanna get in trouble because of what they did. So they're stuck. They don't know what else to do, so they end up sending more photos. And then they get stuck with this perpetrator, and the photos just keep coming. Facebook example, we got a cyber tip of I think she was 15-year-old female, over West Tennessee area. Talking, I think it was like a 40-some-year-old male, did that thing, sent one photo, and refused to send more photos. And what he did was he took a picture in Facebook Messenger, all of her friends and all of her family for the send line, and then had the picture attached to it. All he had to do was hit send. Screenshot of that, send it to the girl saying, if you don't send me another photograph, I'm clicking send. And sure enough, the girl felt scared, and more photos, I think at least probably 30, 40 more pictures were sent. But Facebook picked up on that chat between what was going on, and it was reported in a cyber tip, and we ended up arresting that guy. So it was a pretty good case, but that's just an example of sextortion, and it's happening more and more. Because it's easy for them, because what kid is gonna, if they don't have that open communication with their parents or feel safe with coming to their parents, just think back when you were a kid. If you sent a nude photograph to somebody, would you go and tell your parents? Probably not, but yeah.
And the main reason we do a lot of this presentation is because we want to break the cycle. We want the kids to trust the parents to actually be able to tell them, hey, you know what, this happened to me. Because if they do not, they're gonna get stuck in this cycle. Let me tell you, these perpetrators will never stop. Never stop until we drop them. Okay? So that's why we want to have the kids being able to talk to your parents and say, this happened to you, right? It's not the end of the world. We'll get over it, right? But without that trust, it's gonna be more difficult, more problematic for people.
Can we comparison the images that are out there and the struggle at that point? You're stuck.
So those pictures, whenever you send the pictures, they'll be floating around the world forever. These guys have communities throughout the world where they just trade. Just little clubs. It's either on the dark web or on the open web. There's groups all over the place, And, believe me, law enforcement, we're trying to perpetrate those and catch them and get rid of them. But, yeah, once that image is sent, it's unfortunately out there forever. Because you don't know where that person, it might be on Facebook. You can call Facebook and say, hey, scrub this. They might take it down, but you don't know where that person sent that. They could have sent it to thousands of other, community sites. Your picture here in Cleveland, Tennessee could end up on some guy's computer in France. So they spread, and there's groups, and they just trade this stuff all day, every day. Next slide. So just a little comedy, I guess. This was my childhood. I'm sure a lot of yours childhood growing up. You had the big fat computer, the dial-up. When you got home, my mom would always pick up the phone and just hear that, and then yell, Robert! And then she would disrupt my connection because she picked up AOL, Instant Messenger. Next slide. And this is what our kids are dealing with. A lot smaller. With a click of the button, they can talk to anybody in the world. They can talk to presidents from other countries on Twitter if they wanted to. Media is super small. Next slide. This is what I looked for in a child predator growing up, walking on the street. It's that, that typical guy in the tan jacket with a van that says, puppies and free candy. Next slide. But unfortunately, this is what our kids are dealing with. It could be anybody. So we've arrested police officers, firefighters, teachers, ministers, pastors, counselors, lawyers, doctors, flight medics.
Yep.
Can be anybody, unfortunately. Next slide. So with the chats, your kids might be thinking that they're speaking with the Justin Biebers of Cleveland, Tennessee. Hopefully not, because he's an adult. But next slide. In reality, that's truthfully probably who they're actually talking to. Definitely not who they probably say that they are. Next slide. So just a little case study. This is one of my undercover chats that I did. I don't know if anybody's heard of Whisper. It's one of those thousands apps that you can do. You just pick a picture that's on a program picture. I think I did one of a girl laying on a pillow with earbuds in her ears, and then you can write whatever you want. I think I wrote on this one, I think I said high school sucks, like SUX. And I was getting probably 60, 70 replies. And instantly I was getting nude photographs of males, especially from the waist down. Just not even talking to me, just there's a picture. And I was posing as a 14-year-old female. And so after sifting through all those guys, I finally started chatting with this. He ended up being a 34-year-old now. So we talked on text messaging, and it was over 3 months, which is way too long to talk to one of these guys, because I'm not talking to him at 8 to 5, because obviously the only cops talk to him from 8 to 5. This is like midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're not talking about football, if you get my point. And then one time he said that he wanted a relationship with one of my friends. So I created another persona as a 12-year-old, just because the crime is a lot harsher for anything under the age of 13. Talked to him as a 12-year-old. He committed a lot of felonies just that night alone. We ended up, he was planning on meeting us at a hotel that he picked out, took a picture of it. So we never did show at the hotel, but we knew where he worked. So we waited outside of his work pretty much all day in the pouring rain. And then around 5 o'clock, we saw the guy running out of work, got into the car, and then surrounded him and ended up arresting him. And I think he's currently doing 8 years in federal or state prison, just for talking to me as a 14-year-old. So
That could have been any one of our children.
yeah. That's why we do it. It's tiring. It's very tiring to talk to these guys because well, like I said, you're not talking about, football. It's very, it's hard sometimes, yeah, it's very dark. Yep.
So I never even heard of it. How do you even know about these things to prevent your kids from getting access to these?
So I don't think you will, just because there's thousands of them out there. Every app isn't designed to be for criminal activity.
So let me add something to that. All of these applications, all of these apps on the phone, they have a legitimate purpose. They actually are good for us. However, these perpetrators have found a way to make a cut. Okay? But even all of this encryption that it is used on the internet and the dark web that he might touch on, right? It is actually good for technology, for businesses, for transactions. However, these guys have found a way to corrupt them and use it for their own century.
Yeah, Whisper is it's designed to meet people. It's just one of those apps where, if you're single, I guess you can meet somebody ready to mingle, I guess, right? Next slide. This is an online ad case study. So on Craigslist, I threw that ad up there. That's the actual ad. I said, bored girl, miss friend's dad, any advice? Because that gets the guys going. And I probably had over 100 replies through my email. Finally started talking to this one guy pretty good through text message and through email. We planned on meeting at Walmart. I was a 14-year-old girl in this one too. And during the conversations, he was a big Red Bull drinker, and I said that I never drank Red Bull, and I've always wanted to. So before at Walmart, I told him, hey, go buy me a Red Bull. So we watched him leave his house, go to Walmart. We watched him get out. We watched him buy a Red Bull. We watched him pull in. And then I was texting to him, pretty much sitting almost right next to him, texting him saying, hey, I'll be there in a couple minutes, running late. And then we surrounded the car and arrested him. Next slide. And that's the Red Bull. That's his car. And then as we approached the door, when he saw us, he threw his phone under his front seat, thinking that, we'll never find it. But I think he's doing about 4 or 6 years. So they're good cases. If you've got a good district attorney, you can get some good time for these guys too. Next slide. So online gaming, this is a big one that I'm dealing with. I let my kids play. I'm hesitant, but I let them play. Not really a Fortnite fan, just because I don't know much about Fortnite. My kid's big into Roblox. That's his big thing. But I threatened him with his life if I found out that he chatted with anybody, because that's the number one thing that the perpetrators use for online gaming. So that's the only way they can really respond to the kid is through voice or chat. So my kid can play these games as long as he doesn't chat. And I'll log in and open his iPad and check it out. I noticed that he had like 4 or 5 friends. So I asked which one exactly who was who, just to make sure he knew, and they're all kids from his school. So next slide. Oh, with the online gaming, I never let my kid wear headphones when he's playing games. He has to do it in the living room with no headphones in, because I want to know if there's a pervert talking to my son. This slide is, so the Vault apps, this is a big one. So you can actually download apps out there, like say a calculator app, and it's actually a hidden vault. So you can download this app. It might look like a calculator. You type in your code, like you're typing in a calculator, and then it opens up this vault. And where you can store your pictures, videos, Word documents, anything you want. Kids can use this, and then also, we're noticing a lot of perpetrators are hiding their stuff too. Yeah.
Question on that: if you've got where your child has the request to download an app, would I know that if I look?
Yeah. Well, it'll just show up as like, calculator. So that's when, as a parent, you're like, hey, why are you downloading a calculator app? You're 4, you know. Just stop, you know, just be the parent. Just question, you know. Next slide. So social media, this is obviously probably why a lot of us are here. Just remember, you'll never be smarter than your kids when it comes to social media. Even working in the cyber, I'm not smart enough for my own kid. Because you know, kids are talking, they know all the apps out there, they know what they do. New apps are coming out every day, they change every day. So the biggest thing is just know what the app does. If your kid downloads Snapchat, sit down with them, figure out what Snapchat does, what you can do on it. Can you chat with people? Is it just sending weird photos to people? Just know what every app does that's on your kid's device. And I think the next slide is it's a video, but I think you'll like it.
What's up, man? I'm Kobe Person. How easy is it for a pedophile to pick up an underage child using social media? Well, today we're going to find that out. I made a fake profile on Facebook posing as a 15-year-old boy. With the parents' permission, I friend requested 3 girls ages 14, 13, and 12 years old. I've been talking to these girls for the last 3 or 4 days, and today we're supposed to meet up. What we found in this video is shocking and something everyone should see. Be sure to watch until the end and use what we've learned in this video to better educate your friends and family. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This first girl, her name is Michaela. She's 13 years old. We've been talking on Facebook for the last couple of days, and we're supposed to meet up at the park later when our parents leave the house. I'm just waiting right now to get the text that our parents have left the house. So I just got a text. My parents just left. I can be at the park in 10 minutes. We're gonna go see if she comes in 10 minutes. We're gonna go right now, set up all the cameras, and just be waiting there for her. So she said she's gonna meet me at the park playground. So this is the closest to her house, she said. So right now I'm texting her that I just got here. All right, let's just wait, see what she says. She said, okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Oh, she's coming, yeah? Michaela? From Facebook. You not here?
Michaela, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?
Sorry.
He could have been a rapist. He could have been a pedophile. Why would you do this?
Yeah, you know that I could have been anyone. Like you talked to me for the last 4 days. You've been talking to me on Facebook. Do you know that you shouldn't talk to strangers, especially online. Like I wasn't even do I look the same as my picture? Could be even worse than that.
You realize how scary this could have been? We have to talk.
This next girl, her name is Juliana. She's 12 years old, and we're supposed to meet up tonight when her father falls asleep. But right now I'm here with John, who's Juliana's father. We're gonna see if she's actually gonna come to the door now. She said, this was the last text, LOL, I would have to wait till my dad falls asleep if you want to chill, because I can't have boys over. So she wants to chill tonight, supposedly. What do you think about that?
I don't think she's gonna open the door. God, I hope she doesn't open that door.
What's your address?
I pray she doesn't respond to this.
Well, I can't say the address, but she literally just texted the address. Start driving to the address, close by. My dad's going to drop me off. Alright, so she just said, I think my dad fell asleep, you can come now. On the light right here?
Yes.
Come outside, come to the front door. Are you ready? Chill.
Get over here.
with you? What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
How can you do this? You're 12 years old. This guy's 20 years old. You could have been raped and murdered. We already lost your mother. What would I do if anything happened to you? What would I do if anything happened to you? I love you. Don't you ever do this again. Don't you ever do anything like this again.
This next girl, her name is Jenna. She's 14 years old. We've been talking online over text message and even had a phone conversation.
So right now we have the parents of Jenna. Jenna thinks her parents are going out tonight for date night. She thinks my brother is going to be driving, so she's going to get in the car, but she doesn't actually know that it's all just me. So I'm going to text her right now. Did your parents leave yet? Yeah, like 15 minutes ago. Do you think she's going to go through with this?
No way.
Absolutely not. I don't even believe it's her. I'm not one of her friends playing around with her.
What's your address? Alright, is this your house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Alright.
White man.
We are here to come out. You don't think she's coming out?
She better not be coming out.
Oh, see the door open.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I see it's on. Can't believe this. Yeah. Hop in. He's in the back. Over here.
Jenna, stop it, your mother and father! Jenna, look, turn around! Turn around! Turn around! How could you dare go into a stranger's car?
What are you thinking? Just explain.
Give me your phone right now. Give me your phone now.
What would have happened if you came out and it wasn't us sitting back here and there were really crazy people back here?
We never would have saw you again.
We watched movies together. We looked at newspaper articles and the news that all these things are real life situations that have happened. And we discussed them. What, you think it's fine to go try it out on your own?
But what happens if they would have drove away? There would have been 3 strangers sitting in this car. Huh? What would you have done? What would we have done? We didn't have our daughter.
You understand? You probably thought you were talking to a 15-year-old. You didn't even know what was happening, did you? You just got in like that. You were going with everything I was saying. You understand now. You should never ever do that again. You should teach you a lesson forever. Your whole life.
It's a good little video that I like, and it shows kind of how easy the grooming is and how easy this actually happens. Next slide. So just going to touch quick on the dark web. It exists, it's out there. Next slide. So the way we use the internet, right? All your Google searches, Facebook, anything, it's around 4% of the actual internet that exists. The rest is the deep web or the dark web. Next slide. So the dark web it's actually, it does have a purpose. It was developed by the US Navy, the intelligence, for protecting the intelligence and the communication between submarines. But then, of course, it got out to the public, and bad people do what they do. But the reason I talk about this is we go on the dark web, and there's nothing good on the dark web that I've seen, so there's no reason for your kids to be on the dark web. But just look at those symbols. It's the Tor, so it's the Onion router, which is it's just like a Chrome browser, or Internet Explorer. If anybody uses Internet Explorer anymore? You just download the Tor browser, double click, and there, you're on the dark web. It's that easy. Good.
Tor was built by the government with road communication and not be shut down under the version that's not accessible to both be set up.
Yeah, I mean, it could, but it does serve a purpose.
It's kind of weird, they're using what our government created.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like Google, regular browsers, you can do illegal things in that, so. But just look at those symbols. If you see that on your kid's phone or devices, you should probably start asking questions. Why are you accessing the dark web? Next slide. So now for the good stuff, pretty much why everybody's here. What do you do? So is your child a victim? What do you look for? A lot of the times, all the pictures that I've seen are in either the bedroom or the bathroom. Because what kid is going to take a photo with their family in the living room? So they're going to be using all their devices in private areas, away from their parents, out of view. The excessive use of the device, maybe they have that online boyfriend, girlfriend, so they just want to always talk to them. Or maybe they're being bullied, cyberbullied, and they're consumed, they want to know what people are saying about them. Or it could be the opposite, maybe limited device use. If they are being bullied, maybe they don't want anything to do with the electronic device. If they're talking to a stranger that's trying to get them to do stuff they don't want to do, maybe they shy away from the phone. They don't want anything to do with it. So just look for that behavior, that change of behavior. If your kid usually is on the phone after school for a couple hours, and all of a sudden he doesn't want anything to do with it, you should probably sit down, talk to them, and look through their device and just and see what's going on. Next slide. All right, so your child is a victim. What do you do? Number one, I know it's hard as a parent, but don't panic. The crime's already occurred. There's nothing you can do except for kind of the recovery phase and try to catch this person. Have a conversation with your kid. Sit down. Ask what happened. Obviously, take the devices away immediately. Do not reply to the person. Don't start that fight. How dare you? Or I know as angry as you're going to be. Don't do that. Take screenshots. Save as much information as you can. You can reach out and contact all these social media companies. They all have law enforcement divisions that reach out and pretty much for the security and the protection of kids. And then obviously contact law enforcement. And I would say probably the number one thing you do is report it to NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It's missingkids.org is the link. You just click the buttons to submit a cyber tip, and you fill in all the information. And then that'll eventually get sent to us, all the ICAP units, and then we can go out and get the person. Next slide. So things you can do with your kids, obviously, like what we're doing here, just have that conversation. Talk to them about internet safety. All the apps have different privacy settings. You can Google it and kind of learn. Every app is different. Every phone device is a little different. I know Google has a safe search. They're actually promoting it now. If you go to google.com, there's a little button on the top that says Safe Search because it's Internet Safety Week. So they have this Google Safe Search like right there available. Set rules, like I was saying before, no phone or device allowed in the bedroom or bathroom. There's really no point. My kids aren't allowed. They're only allowed in the living room. And I've never heard them complain about it. No device in a room after a certain time. So our rule is when they get home from school, they can do whatever on the electronics in the living room until dinner. And then after dinner, there's no electronics allowed. It's just my time frame. Have your computer in a family room, and then just know what they're doing, know what apps they're using, and how they work. Next slide. Have them teach you the apps, like I said earlier. Sit down with them. What does this app do? You can download it, but just tell me, what does it do? Teach by example, show them, don't just tell them. So if you're one to complain and moan on social media, your kid is probably going to be that complainer, moaner, possibly a bully, maybe on social media too. So just lead by example. And the most important thing is have an open conversation. Let them feel comfortable that they can come to you and tell you what's going on. If you kind of create that barrier, they're not going to want to come and talk to you if something is happening on the other end. And then the number one thing is just be the parent. All the social media companies know exactly what your kids are doing. So why can't you as a parent? You know, you have that power to take that phone device away, look at it, figure out what they're doing on it, what apps they have on it, and it can be just a quick 5-minute thing and say, okay, you know, have fun, continue. Next slide. Just a couple apps. As a government agency, I can't tell you what app to download. So if you just Google monitoring apps online, these are just a couple. I know people that have used Life 360 and a couple other of these, and they work. They tell you what your kids are doing online, every text message, phone call, who they're calling. Just like downloading the app, you have to get approval before they download an app or something like that. Next slide. And then just remember, you know, it's scary out there. It's another world. It's hard enough to teach and be a parent in real life, but now we got to teach and parent on the internet live too. So just remember, when we were little, we used to pass notes. Kids are now texting. That's normal, right? We used to buy CDs or 8-tracks if you're a little older than me. But now we're downloading music. We used to play board games. I still play board games, but you know, now it's online gaming. That's normal. We used to write in journals. They're blogging, dressing a doll. I never did, but now they're dressing an avatar, right? They're creating their own Roblox bucks. My kid created some cat guy in a suit with a guitar on his back. But to them, it's just fun. So just remember, you know, this is a kid's day and age. Technology is going to be there. Don't shut them away from technology. Promote technology, but make sure it's safe. Make sure you know what they're doing online and that they have that open communication with them feeling comfortable to come talk to you. Next slide. Please take a picture of this. These are all the resources. The missingkids.org is like the NCMEC. All of these have content for kids. They have PowerPoints for age groups. They have videos, pictures, coloring books, anything you can imagine. All for kids and internet safety. And then next slide. And then if you want, you can take a picture, but if you have any questions, you can reach out and always call us. We'll always talk to you. Yep.
About before, what can we do as parents to, you know, who funds that? How do you get more resources in the factor of increasing? How can we do that?
I think it's just, I don't know if Caesar's the...
What was the question I couldn't hear?
How can we get more agents?
How can we get more agents?
Well, you said the crimes are increasing, but you have more agents. Do we need more to be in our unit, or do we need more in our communities? And what can we do as parents to help, you know?
So we, yes, we need a lot more agents. Not only us, but a lot of police departments and state agencies. We request more agents on a regular basis. However, the bureaucratic process for us to obtain agents has to go through the governor's office and the legislatures, okay? So it would hurt if you talk to your legislature and say, yeah, we need to have more agents that actually investigate these crimes, okay? So let me add something to what he was saying, okay? We have concentrated the presentations talking about girls being victims. But don't be fooled. We see also, it's more prevalent on girls being victims, but boys as well. We see a lot of boys that suffer the same cyberbullying, the same extortion, okay? Sometimes they think they're talking to other girls, it's not another, okay? It's another guy, older, right? And they go through the same process. They go through the same victimization, okay? So I just wanted to emphasize the case that is not only for girls. We have to watch the boys as well, okay? Another thing that he mentioned is we as parents reflexively think, you know what? No technology for you. We're gonna wait until you're 35 before you get a job. But remember, we all have been kids. And I can tell you from experience, we have talked to a lot of parents, and they don't believe what is happening, right? Reflexively, we don't think, no, they're not going to do this. And we have shown, well, actually, yeah. And they want to take all access to any electronic media. Let me tell you, you can do whatever you want with your kids, right? From experience, I can tell you they would always find a way. That's why he said they are smarter than us. Because there's new technology. We were smarter than our parents. I can assure you all of us were. Okay? But the same, the next generation is going to be the same. So it's better to actually know what they're doing as opposed to just shut them down. Because they will find a way. They will.
I have several questions. One, you're talking about incarceration, which to me, when they come out, they're still the same person that doesn't change, correct? If you're a pervert, you're a pervert, correct? All these perverts are full time with little kids. So what is being done on the other end? We can educate our children, make them aware, but we still have this legion of people that are out there. You can put as many law enforcement officers as you want, but until you have the original problem, people living bad behavior, prey and predator. So what is Tennessee or our government doing to tackle that problem? I know we have databases which will show where predators are, but getting them off the street for a couple of years and then bring them back out, is that the solution? Is that all that is being done?
So, the state and the federal government and states are actually behind in that. We can see by the stats, right, the recidivism of these individuals is really high. Okay, there are a lot of programs that actually try to tackle that. Whenever somebody is incarcerated, they have to go through certain kind of treatment program, do the training. As to what extent it works, I do not know. Okay, it works to some extent, but again, the recidivism is really high. Okay.
So there's no statistical data as to if somebody is convicted of this, that's the last time they would do it. Data on what the revolving door is?
No, I'm sure there is. I don't have it on my fingertips, but yes, there have been a lot of studies that have been conducted about actually when they start hurting the kids, right? And what happens after treatment, right? And that revolving door. It is common, extremely common to have that revolving door. Okay. Do we have to do more as a society better than that? Absolutely, we do. Absolutely. But I don't have the answer to that. As to what specifically will trigger that person will not commit another offense. Because we have actually arrested people multiple times, same individual, didn't help. We have arrested people, and as soon as they had access to a computer in prison, they commit another crime. I don't know what they were thinking. They might say, well, might as well, I'm here. I don't know. And they get more charges.
So the penalties need to be stiffer then?
The penalties? I do believe they have to be stiffer, yes. But again, that's a question for the legislature.
And that would be relevant to each state, or is this controlled by the federal guidelines?
Both, because they're federal statutes, right, for the commission of these types of crimes, for the federal level, but also the state level, right? We actually work cases at both levels. It depends on the type of crime, right? That can be prosecuted. Usually, the prosecution at the federal level has to be a conduct offense, okay? Which is kind of depressing, right? Because in order they get a lot more time on the Fed side than at the state side, right? However, the system is overwhelmed with, as you can see, that many crimes, right? But they cannot prosecute everyone. Neither are the statement, right? But usually it has to be a contact offense for us to take it further. Possession and distribution, and also contact offenses, why we take it to the state.
Any other questions? Yep.
You got a slide out there that said that there's 750,000 registered sex offenders. What percent of all the sex offenders does that represent? What I'm trying to get at is how many would you estimate are there in the country?
I don't know when that video came out, but wherever they got their data, I mean, I'm sure it's more than a million, but.
Okay, for everyone that's registered, how many are unregistered out there?
I'm
Is
sure
that
a
a lot?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, just think we get 90 cyber tips 90 cyber tips a month. There's a perpetrator on the other end.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, we also as a society have to change, right? Because a lot of people might think that, okay, they're viewing images, they're not doing any harm. Well, actually, every time that image or that video is played, that child is being victimized. We have to see it through that lens. I know that we have run over time, Cody, but do you guys have any more questions? Yes, sir.
It was mentioned at the beginning that the information here was being recorded, that we could get to that and replay it when we get home. Do we have a location where we can see?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, but
Okay.
But I think they're going to hang around. So once this is all over, we're going to have different tables set up with some different things, and our special agents are going to hang around. Let's give them one more round of applause. So I know as we were talking, as I was talking to special agents beforehand, trying to isolate our children from technology is not an effective strategy in today's age. And they mentioned several reasons why. And so I want to talk to you about some things we do at the school, or specifically our late facilitator is going to talk to you about that. But I think the key takeaway for me tonight from talking to them is the parental involvement. Having that conversation with your student, talking to them about, hey, these dangers do exist out there, and hey, these threats are there. So if you ever get cornered, or you ever feel like you can't talk to me about it, talking to me about it is always better than the alternative. So building those relationships with your student, and then setting up those common sense strategies of, okay, we're not gonna have computers or phones in our rooms alone, those kind of things, or setting up those strategies at your house that can help, I think can go a long way. So here is the agenda for what we're going to be looking at the rest of the evening really briefly. We do want to let Ms. Savannah Shell talk about Power School. It's a little bit off the topic of digital safety per se, but it makes sure that you can know it's digital ways to help keep your kids safe. So is my kid at school today? Are they absent? Were they charting? We can see all those kind of things through Power School. So Savannah's going to kind of walk you through that. And then we're going to kind of roll through them pretty rapidly. Emily's going to talk about GoGuardian. GoGuardian is a solution that we have on our laptops that help keep our students safe, so some of the things that it offers. Andrea Phillips has some ideas for, okay, we give our students cell phones. Here's some things you might want to consider. And we've already seen some of those from our special agents. And then finally, we want to make sure you can get connected to your students' digital learning and get connected to a teacher to talk to them. So Dr. Garner is going to talk about accessing those very briefly. So let's get started with Savannah, who's going to talk about Power School.
Okay, I'm just going to walk you guys through how to log into your parent account and then what you can know in real time about your kids through that. So give me just a second.
she's going to hear really soon.
Okay, so So if you start on the Cleveland City Schools homepage of our website, the Power School link right here will take you to the login screen for Power School. Your login is typically either your email address or the part of your email address before the @ sign. If you don't know your account information, you can always email pshelp@clevelandschools.org to get all of that information sent to you. So when you log in, this is what your account looks like as a parent. I don't have any students, but some people in our district have loaned me theirs to show you this example. So I have one elementary student and one high school student. You can switch between which student you're looking at right here. On a high school student, their grades are all populated here, and a middle school student. Elementary students are graded differently, so to get to their grades, you'll have to click this button that says Standards Grades, and then you can open every class to check that out. The Power School app might be something that's more beneficial for you as a parent because it's going to send you live updates throughout the day. I have actually been called before from in the main office of this building and had a parent say, "It looks like my kid's skipping class, can you go find them?" So it really is a beneficial thing. It'll send you a notification as soon as they're marked absent, and you can be on top of that immediately to find your kid if needed. So the app is really beneficial for that. Through this portal, you can look at all grades and attendance. Your high school and middle school students will choose their courses for next year through their Power School portal, and as a parent, you'll be able to view what they've selected from the class registration tab. You can pay fees through Power School by using our eFunds program. And if you click on the link, you can go through and you'll just need your student number, which is also located on the home screen for you for your students. The other thing that would be beneficial for your children's safety that you can get to as a parent is the year-round update. It looks a lot like that beginning of the year registration that you fill out for your student, and it'll allow you to change any contacts if there's an issue and you need somebody removed from your child's contacts. That's a quick way to do that yourself, as well as add any medical information or anything like that that might have changed throughout the year after you filled out that initial registration. But the Power School app will also give you all those real-time updates that you may or may not need. So I'll be at the back after this if anybody has any questions or needs help getting into their Power School account. And Ms. Raper, I think, is coming next.
While she's coming up, let me highlight clv.city/technology, clv.city/technology, or if you go to clevelandschools.org and then click on the Blade info or technology info, then you can see this as well. But we're going to have more in-depth guides, walkthroughs, those kind of things. This is also where the presentation for tonight will be posted, clv.city/technology, and I'll highlight this again, but.
So I'm going to very quickly talk about GoGuardian, and I will also be at the back at the end. So if you do have questions, or if I kind of go quickly, but you need follow-up, please see me there. We have GoGuardian at our through all Cleveland City Schools, kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, and there are 4 kind of components that we use with GoGuardian. We have GoGuardian Beacon, GoGuardian Admin, GoGuardian Teacher. And then the big one that I want to highlight for you all tonight is GoGuardian Parent. I'm going to briefly touch on the other ones, just so that you know what is in place helping to keep your students safe, especially 6 through 12 on those MacBooks that come home. And if your kids are coming up in elementary school, those MacBooks that will be coming home, because the kids are smarter than us. So how do we stay on top of them? So we have GoGuardian Beacon. GoGuardian Beacon is a 24/7 monitoring for self-harm and violence search. So anything that is searched on our computers at any hour of the day or night, GoGuardian Beacon monitors that. They use a technology that can search the screen, that can look for words, can look for images. It will send an alert to the parent It will pop up with information for the student for immediate assistance. And then it will also start calling our administrators so that we can get in touch as appropriate for either a well check or whatever needs to be done to help with that. So that is one kind of peace of mind that we have on every device that we have. GoGuardian Admin is kind of an extra layer of filtering. This is, it uses an AI technology to actually read the screens. And if it reads anything, so for example, if your students are chatting, it can read those chats, it can pick up on those chats, it can block that page immediately if it sees something that is questionable or that is inappropriate. It will, it puts a lock on their screen, and so they can no longer access that page. And then it sends an alert to the admin team at that school or that level so that we can follow up with that as needed. So again, another filtering piece to keep your students safe when they are on their device. GoGuardian Teacher is something that all of our teachers have, and this allows them to control that device while the student is in their classroom during that class period. So basically the teacher can say, okay, you know what? Today we're only using this website and that's all I'm going to allow today. Because most of your kids would just sit and play games the entire third period instead of doing their work. And you're like, no, not Mikey. Actually, you're all nodding. Okay, so this allows those teachers just an extra layer of keeping those kids accountable to make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do in class. Teachers can close tabs. They can actually view what was happening on the students' screens. So it gives them some control over those devices during class time. And then we have GoGuardian Parent, which gives you all the control once they are out of that class time. This is an app that you can download. It's available on the App Store and the Google Play, so whichever device you have. This allows you to see what websites your student has visited. You can see what they've done during school and after school. So it kind of monitors it at all times. These are what the screens look like. But there's activity, you can go kind of all through these different pieces. You can control what sites your students visit. So if you, for example, don't want them on Facebook or whatever, you can block that during that time when they're home. You can pause and disable internet and web browsing. So, for example, if your family rule is nobody is on after 8 o'clock, you can actually pause the internet on that MacBook or on that device after 8 o'clock, from 8 o'clock until the next morning. So that gives you that power as well. There is an overview video available at cleve.city/technology, that website that Dr. Raper was just talking about. So if you need help getting started, I think actually it's a video that I made, so you'll hear my voice going through it step by step to show you what to do, how to use some of those features. So if you don't have the GoGuardian Parent app, this is a great tool to have. And if you have any issues with it, contact your leveled blade facilitator. We are happy to help you get those solved, because as all technology, it works, and it works great, and then sometimes it has a glitch. So we'll be happy to help you get those fixed anytime there is any sort of an issue. You ready?
As Andrea is coming up, to briefly go over a couple of options we have, maybe for cell phones or personal devices, I want to accent, we absolutely do the best we can. I think we have a great filtering device in place, but nothing is ever going to replace the parent whenever we get out of school. So having those conversations with students and setting up those boundaries is a good practice.
So I'm that elementary blade facilitator. I also have a real 14-year-old daughter, and I have a almost 16-year-old daughter, so I've also been terrified but hopeful when dealing with technology. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can manage your personal device or your student's personal device. We, of course, don't do that, but we think it's important to bridge that. Okay. So most of the devices that your students are using have built-in parent controls. And someone mentioned earlier, are there ways to keep my kid from downloading apps? Yes, If you're using an iPhone, they have what's called screen time, and you can either just put it on your kid's device, you set a code, so that as long as they don't know your code, they can't get in and change it. You can do all kind of the things that Emily was talking about, like with GoGuardian, you can set time limits, you have to be notified and approve apps that they want to download, you can set age and content restrictions. Android has the same thing, it's called Family Link, and we've used it before on laptops, Xbox, and phones. You set up a parent account, is an app that has to be downloaded on both devices, and you can set it up. It does the same things that Screen Time does. You can lock it down, you can make sure that you have to get approval for kids to download apps. There are third-party options, so when you're looking at things like who's going to scan the Roblox chat on my kid's phone, one of those, which I think the special agent mentioned, is Bark, and it will actually, once you go online and set it up, it's about $14 a month right now, you connect your account and then you connect your child's social media accounts. Now, obviously, if your kid's setting up a Finsta that you don't know about, it's not going to catch that. But if you have that conversation with your child, you have those usernames and passwords, it scans the chat. It also scans text messages. You can set it up so that it will alert you for lots of different things, and it will send you the context of why the alert was triggered. Not just an alert, but hey, your kid was on this app and chatting, and we saw something that we think you might want to know about. And it also will scan things. It scans for tons of different things. The other that is pretty popular is Circle Home, and actually plugs into your router and does a lot of those same things. There's lots of options out there. Google, you don't have to go into it blind, put training wheels on your kids until they're responsible enough to take those leaps of faith. The last thing is, and this was touched on too, there are parental controls in a lot of apps that you can set. So if your kid's just dying to dance on TikTok, but you know you're not ready to give them that full control, you can go in and you can be a partner in that. So we don't have to say no to everything, but we do just want to be aware that there are lots of options out there to keep our kids safe. This QR code will take you to an article that has a lot more information. It's from Common Sense Media. We're actually partnering with them with our lessons for Internet Safety Week. Obviously, we've said several times your kids know how to get around stuff, but the best defense is a good offense. Build that relationship. Let your kids come to you. Actually, my own kid was chatting on Pinterest once with someone they didn't know, and she came and said, like, I don't know if this is okay. And I was like, no, that is definitely not okay. But just the fact that, your kid feels comfortable enough to ask you to talk to you. The last thing is you can text the word kids to 21555, and Common Sense Media will send you like a tip, 1 or 2 every week. When you first do it, there's some demographic questions it's going to ask. They're not all necessarily about safety. A lot of it is about building that positive relationship around technology.
All right, thank you, Andrea.
The last thing I forgot to mention is we also have family agreements that you sit down with your kid. We have printouts and they're on the blue table if you want to grab one on your way up.
Up next is Dr. Garner. He's going to tell you briefly about our learning management systems that helps you as a parent keep track of your students' learning.
So at the high school, we use Canvas, and here at the middle school, the LMS or the learning management system is Google Classroom. And so when you think about a learning management system, I like to equate it to, if you're my age or around that, you may remember Trapper Keepers, right? Yeah, the old Trapper Keeper. And so in the Trapper Keeper, you may have different folders that were for your different subjects like English or math or science. Well, your learning management system is basically a digital Trapper Keeper. And so all of your child's classes are in that LMS. So again, here at the middle school, it's Google Classroom, and at the high school, it would be Canvas. Now, just very briefly, some information about them. In order for you to access your your student's LMS, you can go to the Google search site and you will see icon in the upper right, and you can click on that or sign in, and you'll sign in with your student's school address, email address, and their password, and then you will have access to what Google calls G Suite. And G Suite would be basically Google's menu. And so you have all of these options that you can choose from the menu. One of those will be Google Classroom. And so you can log in with the password that your student's teacher gave, and then you can see their classes, or you can actually ask the teacher to allow you to join their class as a parent. And so you can do that, and you can see their assignments, you can see what they have to do, you can see what they've turned in, so you can keep a track on that. When you get to the high school, it's Canvas. And so Canvas is the exact same thing, or it operates and functions the exact same way. It's the learning management system. And so through that, you can, there's a video that for parents on the cleve.city/technology site, and you'll find a lot of resources there. And also through our clevelandschools.org site, you will have links to all of those various platforms. And so or you can reach out to me at the high school, or anyone who plays facilitators, and we'll help you out with that. Yes?
The only way to access though is by using your student's credentials, is that correct?
Yes, because that's the profile that's going to link to the class.
Is there anything that we would do to mess them up?
No. If you log in as a parent, or if you're allowed as a parent, you won't interfere.
So we're coming to the end of our time, right on time at 7:30. So don't let the conversation stop here. I encourage you to continue to talk to your students at home. Visit clv.city/technology. Every night this week, well, every day, your students are going to have a different lesson on digital citizenship. And every evening, we're going to send out a guide to you. So continue those conversations at home. Continue talking to your students about that. We have our tables assimilating, so let me quickly run you through them. Andrea Phillips is over here on the far right, and she will be here if you need to talk about anything elementary related, or if you want to talk about Google Classroom. Dr. Garner will be right here next to her. He'll be here anything high school related, or if you want to talk about Canvas. Ms. Raper will be right here, waving her hand. She will be here for anything middle school related, or if you want to talk about GoGuardian. And then Savannah Shell will be right here, anything Power School or account related. So somebody just said we need to use our student's account to get in. Yes, you can get that from that station. I need to know how to sign into Power School. You can get that from that conversation. I'll also be here. The special agents will be here to talk to you. And then lastly, we have a table set up with AT&T. So we have AT&T reps here. They have plans for everybody. So stop by and talk to them to make sure we get connected at home as well. Thank you all so much for coming this evening. Please take a second and talk to our people in the back about any questions you may still have lingering. Thanks.